As a French learner, you're going to be confused a lot of the time and you're going to want to express that. As an English speaker, you might have looked this up and found the word confus. But I can tell you from my experience, my frustrating experience, that in almost every instance as a French learner that you will want to say confused in French, confus will be the wrong word. So in this video, we're going to look at some of the right ways to say it so that you can come across more natural and be understood by the French speakers you are talking to. Du coup, si vous êtes prêts, allez, c'est parti. Salut tout le monde, Coach Alex here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to express the fact that you're confused in French, as well as the similar related words of confusing and the verb to confuse. First of all, if you're enjoying the video, do give it a thumbs up down below. It really helps me out in the YouTube algorithm. Now, another channel here on YouTube, Street French, said in one of their videos a while ago that you can't say confus, and I'd like to agree with them in this video and add to some of their points. Now, they said, overall, you can't say confus, so simply say je ne comprends pas ou je comprends pas, or as is really common in, and I would say even is the go-to choice, if you don't understand, use the past tense and you say j'ai pas compris. J'ai pas compris. Now this is really good advice, because if you think about it, what you're actually saying, if you're confused, someone has said some stream of consciousness towards you, you can't pick out all the words, you don't understand the meaning of it. In English, it makes a lot of sense to say I'm confused. But if you just take it verbatim, that you can't say confus in French. Now the next best thing is to say I don't understand or I didn't understand. So you'd have to say je ne comprends pas ou j'ai pas compris. Ironically, by saying je suis confus or je suis confuse, as we find really easily in translators, you're going to actually end up probably confusing the French person you're speaking to. I don't really know if it's because it truly is never said or if the meaning is that significantly different. I don't think it is. But anyway, I don't hear any French speakers saying it, so you should avoid it as well. If and when your English-speaking brain refuses to kick in time and you're still starting to translate I am instead of saying j'ai pas compris, you can go with perdu. Perdu, now you might be aware of this to mean lost. I am lost. Now this makes a lot of sense, and this actually works to say I'm confused, I don't understand a lot of the time. So this can be your go-to if you've already started saying je suis because you're used to saying I am. Je suis perdu, or in fast French, je suis perdu. And a fun way to say perdu in an informal way is paumé. Paumé, je suis paumé ou je suis paumé, which is still the case for me many years in. So I like this sort of pragmatic clip. Understand why it's hard for you to kick the habit of saying je suis confus. It's because we say I am confused in English. So just kick in with, okay, I want to get to the point where I'm saying j'ai pas compris, but right now I'm still saying je suis. Okay, we'll go with je suis perdu, or je suis paumé. Really good and really correct. It can feel weird to restructure something you want to say in a different grammatical structure, because simply the French phrase you want to use doesn't take the direct translation of English. And this feels weird because you're connected to the English way of saying on an intuitive level. It's automatic, right? But you have to train your way out of it. So to sum up with confused, you can say je comprends pas or j'ai pas compris. And you can also say je suis perdu or je suis paumé. Now, next up, let's talk about confusing. How do you say confusing in French? Well, if you think about it, if something is confusing, what is it? It's not clear. It's not clear. So you can say c'est pas clair. C'est pas clair. Maybe it's a document, maybe it's a plan. You can say c'est pas clair. Confusing, you can say it is confus in this case as well. C'est confus, and I think it fits better in this case, much better than if you want to say I'm confused. You can say c'est confus, and it means it's mixed up. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't have a lot of sense to it, which is slightly different to not being clear. It kind of adds a bit more detail to it if you think about it in English. So, c'est pas clair ou c'est confus. You can also say c'est déroutant, which is more like misleading. So, you know, there's different meanings to confusing even in English. So you want to sort of get used to these subtle differences, but you should always have simple things as go-tos in the moment, and then you can work on the specificities later on. So, c'est pas clair, c'est confus, or c'est déroutant. And hopefully the Frenchies in the comments will tell us exactly which ones are used most often. What about the verb to confuse? To confuse, well, in English, this has two different meanings, and this is same with French. Perhaps there are even more, but the two most common ones are to confuse someone, which means to make them confused. Now in French, if you don't know how to say confuse someone, the very best thing to do is to think simply, to make someone confused. So to make someone plus a state, you use rendre, to render them. Rendre confus, but we don't want to say confus in this way because we've already seen that je suis confus isn't how you say confused most of the time. To make someone confused is to embrouiller quelqu'un. So you can say je les rends perdus, like we used the adjective in the previous section. Je rends la personne perdue, for example. But the actual one-word verb to confuse someone in this way is embrouiller. Embrouiller, embrouiller quelqu'un. It's a pretty hard thing for us English speakers to pronounce, but that is the verb. So to make this really clear with an example, you can say, Alex, ta vidéo m'a embrouillé. Ta vidéo m'a embrouillé. Elle n'était pas claire du tout. I hope that's not the case, but anyway, that's one example. And the other use of to confuse is to mix things up, right? To confuse something or someone for something else or someone else. And in French, there are two verbs you can use for this, is to, just like in English, we can also say to mistake something for something else or to mistake someone for something else. The French have confondre, confondre quelqu'un avec quelqu'un ou quelque chose avec quelque chose. And they have prendre quelqu'un ou quelque chose pour quelque chose ou quelqu'un. So confondre avec and prendre pour. So it's mistake, and take there in mistake is prendre, right? So you can see the link. Prendre quelqu'un, or you can take someone for someone else. No, in English I have to say mistake someone for someone else. So at the end of the day, you get used to the exact word to use to convey the exact subtle meaning that you know intuitively in English. You know this, you get used to this in French just through lots and lots and lots of exposure and lots of getting it wrong and lots of asking questions and being told things. So don't be surprised if French people do not know how to help you with specifics. That's because they know their language intuitively like you know English. But this one has stumped me so many times in the past that I thought it needed talking about in a video. So I hope this was useful. If you're interested and live in a French-speaking country, the next edition of my group program, Find Your French Confidence, is starting very soon. So if you are interested in hearing more about that and potentially applying, do head over to my website via the link in the description below. And if you're watching this when this edition has passed, then there's usually a link in the description to join a waiting list. Merci beaucoup à tous mes supporters ici sur YouTube et sur patreon.com. If you want to join them in supporting my work here on the channel, please do click on the links down in the description below. Merci beaucoup de m'avoir rejoint. You can head over to watch some other videos about English words in French over on my channel. Subscribe if you're new here, it really helps me out. Like the video, likewise helps me out, and I will see you in the next one. Merci beaucoup, à la prochaine, ciao.